Hi, everyone, and thank you, Andrée. That was really amazing and inspiring.
I'm sorry for the glitches.
Oh, there were no glitches. It was all amazing.
Well, I also wanted to tell everybody that I have a show up right now in Oakland, and it is having a closing reception this Saturday from 1 to 5. So if you're in Oakland and around, I'd love to see you. Then I can see you in person and shake your hand. I'll give you a hug.
Put the material in the chat, the address.
Okay.
So I just wanted to remind everyone that WEAD is starting a fundraising campaign. We are rebuilding our website and online directory. So if we would be honored if you can support our campaign, and you can do so by going to the WEAD website. It's weedartists.org. I'll put it in the chat in a second. There's a donate link in the upper right corner of the homepage, and please support our campaign. Thank you. And I'll pass it back to the center.
All right. So now we will start our questions and answer questions for Andrée. And if you can put them in the chat, that would be a good way to start. Let's try that. So do I see?
So do I have to look at chat now?
Do I see any questions?
I see, yes. Oh, yeah.
Well, while people are putting the questions in the chat, Andrée, what is next for you? You're starting new beginnings.
How did you know that already? Well, I retired and then some bunch of wonderful things started to happen. But mostly I want to thank Joe and Emily for this fantastic show that I have in Oakland. It's going to be up for another week, but there will be a closing ceremony on Saturday. Joe Kowalczyk runs the gallery, the FM gallery, and he just put the information for where it is. It's, it's on right next to Mercury. So you all guys know where that is, but so I'd love to see you there. But also one of the things that happened is that somehow somebody saw my functional work. And so now I'm being, and I should put this in the chat too, I'll have to tell you. A Welsh guy runs an online shop called Tiwa Select, Tiwa Select. So if somebody wants to put that in there, that would be great. And he's featuring my work. So I've never had an online gallery before. So I've been making that. But also right now, what's next is dealing with life and death. Because at 85, I'm going on 85, and several of my family are on the way out. So it's the challenge of meeting the next big journey. So
thank you, Andrée. So I
do want to say, wait, now, Mary, one more thing. I do want to say, if anybody is interested in teaching children, I have boxes and boxes of informational material that you could use. So just come and get it. Will.
So I think the first one that I see is from JP, she, her. When working with youth, what were some of the biggest lessons you learned from them to make you change and to make you change how you taught?
I'm not sure it changed how I thought, but it did make me realize that how lucky I was to have a creative space, a studio to go and work in an art world, which brought me into my own unconscious and was the place for healing. Because I think that making art is an unconscious act, and it takes us to places where we might not want to go. And working with the children, I saw that happening with them. They use the artwork to give voice to the things that were going on in their lives, but they were also making things that were fun and they were enjoying it. So just, laughing together and making jokes together and then having a show together and showing it to their parents and how proud they are. That was all, for me, that was part of my own healing. I don't know if that answered your question.
Here's one from Aviva Ramani. The question is, if you could design an exercise for world leaders to deal more quickly with ecological issues, what would it be?
Oh, wow. That is something I would love to think about. I think we should all think about that, Aviva. Thank you. I think that's a great question. And I do think, this is partly because I've had a shitload of therapy that has saved my life. I do think that it starts with ourselves. And that if we feel strong enough love for our living, for our own well-being, for our own ego, that we deserve to be loved, then we can try and understand the people that don't have that. I personally think that so much damage in the world. What is, why do Afghani men fear women so much? What is it? What's inside of them that is, I think that in order to heal any of that stuff, they have to go inward first and figure out what is unlovable about themselves. I think that's such a basis for so many of us. But that's a great question, Aviva. And I throw it back at you to come up with it too.
Okay, the next one, I hope I'm not missing, I got them in order, but we'll do our best. Danielle Irville.
Mhm.
Daniela Irville.
Yeah.
When did you know you wanted to be a teacher?
You know what, Annie? I probably started at age 12 or maybe even before, because some of you know that I had a terrible childhood. Both of my parents committed suicide. My mother was alcoholic, and my older sister took care of me, and I took care of my younger brother. And we did things together that helped us survive. So my teaching my younger brother, who probably not watching this, I think that I loved doing that. And it just came natural. So when I joined the Ethical Culture Society, when I was 16 years old, they needed a teacher. And I started teaching the elementary school kids. And the project that I did with them was we did a little theater performance of what it was like. So I had them pretend they were being born, and then what happens and how they grow. And oh my gosh, now they could do this in their year. And then by the time they were 5 years old, oh my goodness, all the things they could do. So we used to perform that, and the parents loved it. Anyway, so I don't know if that answered your question, but I always loved turning people on.
Well, here's one from Will Brady.
I know Will.
When contacting city officials or representatives in an effort to create public art projects, installations, what are some of your best strategies?
I don't know about strategies. Public art usually, and I worked with Christo, and I learned from Christo that a great big part of doing the artwork was the preparations, was the meetings, was the plannings, was making the budget, and being nice to and understanding the people who were in charge, and not doing things that we're going to step on their toes. So the projects usually had to, and I'm seeing Steve shaking his head yes, because Steve and Kirsten have been working in the public in Oakland, and I bet they know what I'm talking about too. I think you just have to look upon every part of organizing it as part of the artwork. I don't know if that answers your question, but I have to say that I'm just so moved to tears by everybody who's here and people that I haven't seen. Jean and Ikushi. Oh my God. And thank you for coming, everybody.
Well, now here's one from Beverly Natus. Have you encouraged others to do disobedient art? In other words, making art that has not been given permission by various institutions and bureaucracies.
Well, look who's asking that question. She answers that question herself more than anybody. I don't think I particularly go out of my way to do it illegally, but it probably wouldn't stop me if I had to do it illegally. What's your answer, Beverly? What do you do?
Well, I really encourage people to not think about legality these days, because obviously some of the most important things that have been revolutionary have been illegal to do.
Yeah.
Things that have changed the course of history. And right now, we really need to be encouraging people to be disobedient.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I just want to say that among this audience are some of the most incredible artists around anyway. Certainly as important, if not much more important than I am. Okay, any more questions?
Maybe just raise your hand now. I don't see any more in the chat.
Well, thank you so much for coming, everybody. I don't know how many actually showed up.
Thank you.
Betsy,
Hi.
thank you for showing up, honey. You
Oh,
see that
anytime.
I mentioned you?
Anytime for you. But I know you love opera
Yes.
and you love theater, and maybe it'd be fun to share some of that with us.
What, the opera and theater? Well,
Yeah, you're like, that's what you're doing that's what you're doing all the time in your life. But you also gave yourself this, you would jump a fence. I'd jump a fence any day with you.
we've done some theater work together, you and I.
Well, yeah, but I know what your love of it is, and how big your heart and mind go.
Takes one to know one, honey.
Oh, shut up. Talk about yourself.
There's a woman here named Elisha Massat who used to live in my house, who's a marvelous soprano. And I was so lucky. She would just walk in the kitchen for breakfast singing her latest aria. And I was very lucky to have her living in the house. Okay.
Thanks, Andrée.
Yeah, and I see that your mother was here. Great.
It was wonderful to hear you. And I don't know how to get it done, but all your ideas and how you treat people, it needs to be in a book. It needs to be a book, yes.
We need to write a book. But I do want to tell everybody, please, I have so much printed material, all of my lesson plans with pictures, with books, with visual materials that go with it. And I would hate to see it go to the dumps when I pop off.
Oh, Andrée, I see that Mary has her hand up.
Who's Mary?
I'm not sure. Mary, would you like to speak?
Hi, Andrée. It's Mary O'Brien.
Where are you? Wait, I don't see you.
Well, I'm not on. I'm eating dinner, so.
Oh, yes. Oh, but you're here.
I see you, though.
Okay.
I just want to say, talking about your class, how much having Daniel and me talk at your class and work with your students made a difference to a really important project of ours.
Oh.
And by the way, our Bakeley Oyster Wreath is still ongoing, but your students and you and Sharon attacked that with such enthusiasm. And to be honest with you, it was really the boost that we needed to continue with that project.
Wow.
And,
with the Oyster Project?
Yes. Yes.
That was so much fun.
It was. It really was. And we still have some of the work. We put it in and we take it out. We count the oyster larvae on it. We put it back in. We don't want to lose those pieces, but it was a great project with your class. And
Yeah.
I just want to say that. And I know Daniel's known you for many years before that. And that was my first chance to meet you well, I mean, we'd met, but to really, galvanize our friendship. So I just want to say that class is
Thank
wonderful.
you
You
so
had a great
much,
student.
Mary. Thank you.
Yeah, it
for
was fun,
coming.
wasn't it?
And give my love to Daniel and boy, we just remember all of those pieces, and that was so much fun. I
Yep.
learned so much about
We
the
did too.
oysters.
And it's still working and we're still doing it. It's,
That's
it's a long road on something like that. And you gave us the boost. Thank you so much.
Great. Okay, now we have Prava. Pilar has a question, and maybe you'll want to add to it. I'll just read what you wrote, and then Kelly has a question after that. Prava says, you've done so many collaborations. What is your advice around collaborating?
Oh, okay. I have really good advice about that, because Elizabeth, Valerie, and I worked together every Friday, and we often got interviewed on the radio and TV, and people would ask, well, whose idea was that? And the truth is that, in fact, Valerie once said that Elizabeth was horizontal, she was diagonal, and I was a curve. So we came together to create a composition. But when people would ask us, whose voice was what, it was such an amazing thing that happened among the three of us, that a fourth entity appeared. That was a combination of all three of us working together. And sometimes that would happen with other collaborators. I worked with Susan Steinman, and I worked with Mary, and we all have to throw our things in it. And sometimes you have to give up a piece of yourself in order to get something bigger and better, that is the communion. So I think it's a wonderful thing to work collaboratively. I highly recommend it. And teach collaboratively. Like, it's been incredible teaching with Sharon.
Great. I think Kelly has her hand up.
Yeah. Hi, Andrée.
Oh, hi, Kelly. My God, it's been so long.
I know, it's really good to see you. I wanted to first just say that I wanted to acknowledge you for your home as well, because that wasn't really spoken of. And it's, it's your work outside of your home, but the way that you are in your life is just so beautiful. And that's how I know you. And I've always felt so supported by you. And I always learned so much from you just from being around you there. So thank you so much for that, just for walking that everywhere you are. It's really beautiful. But the question I had for you, it's a little bit kind of more personal, but you talk a lot about self-love. And I'm curious if you have any wisdom or anything you've learned along your journey. Along your journey. Around self-love. Yeah. Like, what have you learned from walking that in your life, or anything you want to share about that?
Well, I don't know how personal to get, but I have done a lot of very heavy therapy. And I think that there are stepping stones if you have a good therapist. I had a wonderful Israeli therapist that worked with Holocaust survivors that had lost memory, and she helped bring them back memory. And it meant reliving traumatic events. And I talked about that in the work. And I think that is often the hardest thing to do with all of us, is to confront the parts of ourselves that we had somehow buried, that said we are not lovable. And that we have to go back and find a way to reparent that unloved child. And, even the best of parents can't give them all the love that they need. And I think that we do have to find a way to reparent ourselves in order to love ourselves as the best beloved child. So, and I think art and working unconsciously is a really good way to do it. So I don't know if that helps. It was my way.
No, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Andrée.
I'm so thank you for coming, UFO.
Thank you so much. You made my dark cloud inside of that class was really helped me. So when you mentioned how important to revisit, to find a good therapist,
Yeah,
to finding words.
I know you know, honey. Yeah.
But so I signed up already, so don't worry about it. It's I'm gonna be in one of the cheerleaders.
Okay.
I may not be the great student, but I'm gonna continue to be in.
Honey, but your presence means a lot. Your spirit.
So then we have Kimberly and then KO.
Oh, KO with new blue hair.
I wanted to say, I love your hair, Andrée.
Yeah, me too.
You thought it was too bright. It's perfect.
It wasn't supposed to be so red.
Ah,
Beautiful, Andrée. That was.
Hey,
Thank
Kimberly.
you.
Yeah, I actually wanted to have a serious comment about, kind of piggybacking on what Kelly had brought up. Yeah, and your comment to that of like reparenting yourself. I also think that we have to re-woman ourselves, like of, like that actually talking about trauma and talking about the emotionalness of creating art is such a feminist conversation, and I don't think it's really even completely allowed in the art world. And yeah, so I hear like the personal take of like what you have to do for yourself, but I also want to just bring up like like the art world and how as women, like we're really shoved into this different space of, valuing children's art, valuing women's art, valuing emotion, valuing trauma, like that's not allowed to exist. That anyway, like I really appreciate your work for being centered in healing and just bringing this like more respect. Like, yeah. And that's social justice and environmentalism and like feminist issue. It's so much really that's so important. So anyway, like, I don't know, I couldn't formulate that as a question, but I would love a response if you have it, Andrée.
That was a lot you said. Well, I guess first of all, I think that being an artist is the act of making art, period. And then what happens to it afterwards is something I was never very good at because we don't have midity. And then how the art, how when it does get out there, how people react to it and how that affects you. That's another whole chapter. But I hope that this program that I just gave emphasizes the fact that it's more about the healing part. And that takes place in the act of making it. And sometimes you have to have really belief in that to have a tough skin when it goes out into the world. Because going out into the world is another whole challenge. And some of us aren't so good at that. I really am not so good at it. I was never good at selling it or showing it or getting it out there, playing the games it takes. And those are all part of your own therapy, is understanding your relationship to the world and how your work fits in it. And maybe that's why teaching was my way of getting around that. I could teach for money and make a living, but it also satisfied this part of me. So those were a lot of big questions.
So Andrée, Patricia Watts has her hand up,
I
and then
see
maybe
you.
that'll
I
be our
see you,
last
Tricia.
question.
Thank you so much for coming, sweetie. God, I haven't seen
Yeah.
you for so long. And you're doing such phenomenal work, Patricia.
I'm exhausted. But yeah, I want to acknowledge a part of your practice that wasn't in your presentation, that is your home, and how you, you know, your how you live is a demonstration of your practice. And you know, you have gray water, you have your chickens.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's a safe haven for people who, you know, are looking for a place to stay. You don't overcharge people. You know, what you're providing for all those young people who come stay in your home, and is, yeah, not many people walk the talk like that. There's a lot of environmental, ecological artists who don't actually do exactly what you're doing, is how you live in your home. And so that is a part of your practice.
Well, that's because you've had a chance to come.
Yeah. But it's impressive, you know.
Yeah. And it's true. My kitchen has held, I think you were there, Patricia, when we had a wonderful meeting in that kitchen with women on women's issues. Yeah.
I loved seeing you with long dark hair. I didn't know you had dark hair. I want one of those pictures.
It was a long time ago, honey.
You were beautiful. You're still beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, Manoush, shall we?
I
wrap
was
it up?
gonna. I want to say we have 3 more minutes, but and in kind of like continue of what Patricia said, which I really want to say that the way that Andrée is bridging and connecting people together, this is something that I think it's so important to talk about, how through the class that I've been witnessing as a person and also as an individual who have known Andrée and learned about her, it's been very important in my life, thinking about, you know, Andrée as a Jewish person, and I'm Muslim, and how we connected. Even, you know, I've been learning a lot, and through the class, through the, you know, the connection as a person, individual, to just see what you have been doing, Andrée. It's very, very important, and I think it's very helpful for so many students learn about this. And I think the way that you teach, the way that you bring this healing into your teaching is how you create those beautiful community base. And I think this has not been talked a lot about, but a lot of collaboration out of your class coming out, and that's because of how you are open to work with people and how you are putting out from yourself and teach them how to be open and, you know, accept each other, because no matter who I am and no matter what my background is, I start being and, you know, connecting to someone who is different. And I think that's what you're bringing with your class. And it's been I'm very lucky to, you know you, learn from you, and all how I'm connected to WEAD. I just wanted to put that out. It's like how you connect us, you know, someone from other country, no background about anything, but all of a sudden comes and learn about these beautiful women. Yeah, I wanted to put that out. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Andrée. I really enjoyed your class, and I respect you so much. And you do what you preach, you practice, as they're saying. And I really appreciate you, admire you, and I wish I had known you earlier in my life. And I wish you all the best. I know you now, and I'm
not
grateful.
dead yet.
I'm grateful for that. Yes. So it's beautiful to know you, and thank you. Thank you for what you are.
Thank you, Andrée. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Andrée. Thank you so much, Andrée. This was fabulous. You gave us a lot.
So I just want to remind everybody.
For everybody who's coming. Now, I just want to know who was here. I can only see the few pictures on the screen, but I see in the chat that there are other people here whose faces I haven't seen, including Megan and Elizabeth Addison and Joe. And I think even my son might be here.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Who
I
said,
think he was.
Yes, he's here.
Oh,
And he's been very helpful to share the links.
So I just want to say that Nathan has been an incredible help with this. And you saw 2 of his videos. The one at camp, wasn't that wonderful? And then of course the last one where 10-year-old Alex, who's now 19 at what college is he in?
Yes, Oberlin.
Oh yeah, Oberlin. Yeah, he's in Oberlin College. But that he was eating, I was glad to see him eating seaweed.
People actually commented that in the chat, Andrée. Later you'll go read it.
Yeah, I haven't read the chat because I've been busy talking. Thank you for coming, honey.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. God, I feel.
Thank you, Andrée.
Now I could
Thank
die.
you, Andrée.
Love you.
Andrée.
That was a wonderful, wonderful talk about your practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrée.
The haircut is from Prabha. She cut both Nathan's and my hair.
Go, Prabha.
Yeah.
Looking good, looking good.
Thank you for mentoring so many new eco artists, Andrée.
Well, let's keep it going, you guys, and let's hope we made a little bit of money so we could keep WEAD alive.